Are you guys enjoying your food? That's good. But I know that we're a little bit behind schedule, so I want to call up Kathy Cool. I had the honor of meeting her. That was last year, right, Kathy? Amoy, I don't know where Amoy is, but Amoy introduced me to her, said, you have to meet this lady. She has a story that's so inspiring. She'll tell you more detail about it, but can you just put your hands together? Put your folks, please, let's down for a little bit. Put your hands together for Kathy as she comes up.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Kathy. I'm currently 26 years old, and I was diagnosed with acute narrow-angle glaucoma when I was 23 years old. So here's just a little bit about myself. I'm an identical twin, born 3 months early and spent 5 months in the NICU at Children's with multiple complications. The doctor didn't think that I'd make it, even told my mom to prepare to say goodbye, but said that if I survived, that I'd be born legally blind in both eyes, mentally disabled for the rest of my life, and most likely have a colostomy bag attached to my side. Well, today I can stand in front of you as a living testimony proclaiming God's goodness and grace over my life. So after my birth, spending months in the NICU, I had multiple surgeries, some of which include repairing a hole in my heart. I had half of my large and small intestines removed, surgeries to stop further retinal detachments in both eyes. My left eye was much weaker than my right eye, so I wore a patch over my good eye for many years of my childhood years to help strengthen the left eye muscles. And I was told by my eye doctor that I'd eventually go blind in my left eye, but that I had the option of undergoing a surgery that may give me many more years of vision before that were to happen. So at age 9, I went through surgery in my left eye, but unfortunately that surgery failed, and I went completely blind in my left eye. I never knew what it was like to see out of both eyes, because the left eye was so weak to begin with that I naturally used my right eye only to see. There were many things I had to learn to adjust to, one being having no depth perception. And I don't know if many people realize what depth perception is, but I've been told that people without depth perception and can only see out of one eye sees the world as flat. And there was one story where this lady was able to see with both eyes, and she said everything just seemed to pop out at her. So I don't know what that's like, but this is my world that I live in. But down to everyday things that having no depth perception affects. Even just stepping up on these steps, I can't really tell for sure how steep of a step it is. Even just walking to the buffet line with the lighting, having to have this extra light. It's things that I have to consider because I don't have as good vision as I guess most other people. But anyway, so I was told by my retina specialist that the surgery I had as an infant to repair the retinal detachments would keep the vision in my right eye stable for many years, unless an injury were to happen. Until Sunday, April 4th, 2011. I was 23 years old. I was out at dinner with my husband and his parents at a restaurant. Everything was like any other normal day until about the middle of dinner, when I started experiencing pain around the bridge of my nose, and I noticed a change in my vision. The lights were dim to begin with, and the waiters seemed to get blurrier, but I just kind of brushed it off thinking, well, that my eye was tired and the lighting was dim, that I probably just needed to rest and it'll be better later. However, the pain around my nose became worse, and I soon noticed that I was looking around that I could only see silhouettes of people. I couldn't even see the eyes, the nose, the mouth of people, not even a blur, just a black outline. But still, I just brushed it off thinking, well, I guess I must be really tired because I can't see anything right now. But it wasn't until after dinner was over, until we walked outside, when I knew something was terribly wrong. I saw rainbow halos or rings around the street lamps and the car headlights as they were driving by, and I panicked and kept repeating to my husband, like, something's wrong with my vision. We quickly walked to a nearby CVS that was brightly lit just to see whether that would help, and I noticed that everything was a blur, and I couldn't see anything on the shelf, just the blur of the items, but couldn't see the price tags or even the names of the items. We drove immediately to a nearby hospital, and well, by then the pain was getting worse. and I was beginning to feel nauseous. I ended up vomiting, sitting in the chair, staring at the silhouette of the nurse, telling her that I could only see her movements, but I could not see her face, nor the color of her hair, or any other details. The on-call doctor never showed up, and happened to be my previous eye doctor, and he assumed that I just had another retinal detachment, so told me just to come the next day to go see him. By the time we left the hospital, I had barely any vision left in the only eye that I could see, my right eye. I couldn't see colors, no details, and by then I was panicking inside with all sorts of thoughts racing through my head. This must have been past midnight at this point, and by the time we got out, and with the advice of my sister-in-law, who was in med school at the time, we made our way to a larger teaching hospital in DC. When we got there, my husband went in to first figure out where we were to go. While I was sitting in the car, I decided, well, I should probably tell my parents. So I pulled out my phone and was about to dial their home phone number until I realized that I couldn't even see the digits that showed up on my phone. I tried to dial by memory of the keypad, but I kept getting the number you have dialed is not in service. When I got that 2-3 times, I finally heard my mom pick up the phone on the other end. And when she picked up, I just kept repeating to her in tears that, "Mom, something's wrong with my vision, I can't see." And my mom has always been a strong advocate in making sure that I had large print books in school, taking me to doctor appointments, and I just can't imagine the heartbreak that she felt. She was silent at first, and I could tell she was trying to hold back tears. And all she said to me was, "Kathy, I love you. I will be praying for you." I walked into the hospital, and by this time I was unable to see where I was walking or even where the front check-in desk was. I was immediately brought back to the triage area, and they placed a chair in front of me and asked me to transfer from the wheelchair, except I told them I can't see the chair. My eye pressure was taken, and it came out to be 55, which normal is under 20. They held up fingers in front of my face to see if I could see, and I told them, "Well, if you're holding up any fingers, I can't even tell you have fingers in front of me." They gave me eye drops to try and lower my eye pressure, but it was taking too long, so it ended up giving me meds through an IV. The on-call resident at the time came in shortly after and told me that I had narrow-angle acute glaucoma. And at that time, I just thought glaucoma happened in elderly folks, and so I was thinking, well, I'm 23 years old, what's glaucoma? And by this time, I was experiencing all sorts of emotions, racing thoughts in my head of, will I ever see again? What's going on? What if I never get to see the smiles on people's faces, the green trees, the beautiful sunrises and sunsets? How am I supposed to even cook or see what I'm cutting? And how am I supposed to even walk my dog? And what would I do? And I had just finished nursing school. I passed the boards and was working for a few months. And I thought this was what God had called me to do. But then for a moment, I wasn't sure. And I'm asking God at the same time, like, God, if you call me to be a nurse, how can I be a nurse if I'm blind? And why now? I always knew that this was a possibility one day. But Lord, I'm only 23 years old. And Lord, I'm not ready to go blind, and I don't want to go blind, but Lord, if this is part of your plan for my life, then please help me to accept this, because I'm not ready for this. After the meds started kicking in and my eye pressure slightly lower, I was able to see blurs again and saw the color of the resident sweatshirt that he was wearing, which was very exciting for me at the time. I was then wheeled to the outpatient center to have surgery, a procedure called an iridotomy, where they create an escape hole in your eye to allow the fluid in the eye to come in and out instead of blocked up in the eye, and that's what was causing the high eye pressure. But this surgery consisted of felt like unending laser zapping. I was awake, my eye was numbed, but I could feel every zap in my right eye. So bad that I had tears running down my face, and it was so difficult to endure, and the blockage was so severe that a procedure that normally takes 30 minutes took 6 hours. 15 minutes of zapping, and then they gave me a 15-minute break. And it just kept going on, 15-minute here, 15-minute break. And it was late morning the next day, and I was exhausted, in pain, and unsure still of whether I would ever see again. And the procedure took so long that I developed a corneal tear from the lens that they placed on my eye to keep my eyelids open. and they were only able to make a small breakthrough. And they told me, well, it's not over yet. You have to return in a few days after your abrasion heals to do the second round of laser zapping. During those few days, I had to keep my eyes closed to allow the abrasion to heal. Whether I kept my eye open or closed, the sharp pain was felt every second of the day. No relief whatsoever. I then finally returned for the second round, a few days later, in which they did the same thing. And finally, they made a breakthrough and a small hole was created. And within those 2 weeks, I had returned to the hospital 10 times for checkups in DC. But now I just had to wait to see how much vision would return, if it did at all. So I tried to get out of the house a little. I went to eat at a restaurant with my twin sister and realized I couldn't read the menu. I tried to go browse Barnes & Noble, but realized when I picked up the books, I couldn't read what the text was saying. I began to feel sad and tried to let reality sink in that maybe this is what I had to deal with and accept. And was life really going to be like this from here on out? And I finally knew and got to experience what it was like to be blind for at least just a few days, having to feel my way to get to the bathroom in the house, rely on sense of touch and hearing, and I started to appreciate the little things that I had taken for granted. After about 2 weeks, my vision started to slowly return after the inflammation had gone down from the surgery. Most of the vision I did have before did return. I did lose some vision, but God preserved enough vision for me to do my daily activities. So praise God for that. So for much of my life, I kept focusing on the things that I could not do with the lack of good vision, and that started to bring me down, but I decided that I had to focus on the things that I could do. And to this day, honestly, I still struggle with that from time to time, and it's so easy to compare. But God is working in me and allowing me to see the good in the situation that He places me in, and how His glory can be made known in all situations. So this all happened shortly after I finished nursing school, I passed my boards, and all hope for a nursing career seemed to just go down the drain. I wasn't sure, even with my current vision that I had after the surgery, whether I'd still be able to do that at all. I now wasn't allowed to hold a driver's license, so I couldn't drive anymore, and I didn't know what God had wanted to do with my life. So I had gone back to school to get a bachelor's degree, which I finished, and was on the verge of giving up on nursing until I applied to my current job at a pediatric doctor's office with children's. I had interviewed previously during that time at an allergist's office, and I almost got the job, but I had gone home that day in tears because I realized that with no depth perception and not good enough vision that I couldn't read an allergy skin test properly, and I would never want to misread a test or put someone's life in danger due to my limited vision. Well, God definitely threw me a curveball that I didn't expect. I interviewed for the position at the doctor's office, and with no prior pediatric experience, I was given the opportunity to practice nursing. I was very blessed to have met my current clinical supervisor, also a fellow believer, who believed in me and was willing to give me a chance, and I'm ever so grateful to God for having her in my life. So today I am here to tell you that life has really been a series of challenges, one after another, that I never expected, and it hasn't seemed to stop, but that God has a bigger and greater plan for my life. And although I still struggle with feeling limited in many ways, not being able to drive or not being able to see well, but God has shown me in more ways that I can count in my life and has walked alongside with me through everything. And I am thankful that God gave me this experience so that I could stand and share about His greatness to all of you. So glaucoma can happen to anyone at any time. And yes, you're more at risk when you get older, but I'm proof that it can happen even while you're young. Never in my life did I imagine that I could have been diagnosed with glaucoma, but yet it happened. And cannot emphasize how important it is to get your eyes checked and how to appreciate the senses that God has given to you, and even the little things in life. The ability to drive, the ability to see where you're walking when you're hiking and not staring at the ground, trying to wonder whether the step is too steep and I couldn't do that. And the ability to read the menu at the restaurants, like if I walk into a McDonald's, I have to ask, hey, what's on the menu, can you tell me? Or even the ability just to walk, to talk, to hear, speak, or even light a candle on a cake without burning my fingernail, because that involves depth perception. Or I've been trying to catch a frisbee at the beach because every time I think the people know me. If I can't play frisbee. You throw it at me, then I try to hide because I can't tell distance, whether it's going to hit me in the head or fly way up above me. But praise God for all that He is and all that He's done in my life. And although there are things that I can't do, but there's many things that I've given me the ability to do. So I'm trying to focus on that. So I just thank you for letting me share with you my personal journey, its struggles and its joys. And I'm thankful that we can all gather here tonight as the body of Christ, raising money in hopes to share the love of Christ to those around us, in providing to the needy, and in giving sight to those who are in need of not only physical sight, but eyes that will see the love of Jesus through us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kathy. So some of you may be wondering why I had Kathy share tonight. When I met her, it was actually a time when I'd just been told that I'm going blind. And I remember sharing with Amoy, and she's like, you know what, there's somebody that I need you to speak with. And we had lunch, and we talked about just the challenge, how she was able to cope. But I saw just this person that has so much hope in God. And just hearing her story was so encouraging at me at the time, and that's exactly what I needed to hear from someone, to know that there is hope, right? That you can go through this process and there's still life. There's still reason to give God praise and still reason to give God, all the glory that He deserves. I remember at the time when I met her, I was almost in tears. I think I would literally just cry, shed some tears, because it was just that real to me that, I might be going blind, I might be losing my sight. So, Kathy, thank you. Thank you for making your story available to everyone, and to me especially, because that really changed me at the time.